Hi, welcome and welcome back. I'm Cindy. This is Speak Up or Submit. So this episode is about a mother and her story on how a school went forward to socially transition her daughter without her awareness. And I want to share her story because it's very powerful in displaying how gender ideology has really captured the educational institutions, and so that parents out there can be aware and be informed on what could potentially be going on in your kids' schools. Her story begins back in COVID in 2020. She had a 13-year-old daughter, and during that time period, her daughter had informed her that she wasn't sure if she was a girl. And that this happened shortly after her daughter's friends had, I think 2 or 3 of her friends had also came out as some other gender identity or non-binary. The mother, her name is January Littlejohn, she became aware that her school had actually had a meeting with her daughter without her present. And I'm going to show a clip of where she's speaking to a group of other parents and sharing her story about what the form looked like. And I want you to see for yourself, and then I'll circle back afterwards.
This is the page where I almost came out of my chair during the meeting. This is where they asked the children which restrooms and showers they would like to use on campus and which sex they prefer to room with on overnight field trips. And all this is done under the guise of making a child feel safe at school. But if you really cared about the safety of a child, parents would immediately be included in these meetings every single time.
Okay, so as you can see, some of the questions that are being asked, who in their right mind is asking a 13-year-old these types of questions? Are your parents aware? Are they supportive? Asking a 13-year-old who they want to shower with? That if they have overnight stays, where do they prefer to sleep in? Not thinking about the safety of that child, and maybe that decision or whatever they're relaying is could put that child in danger. When I came across January's story, it hit me really hard because here you have a woman, she's a stay-at-home mom, she's also a mental health counselor. So we're not talking about some parent that is never home, working 2 jobs or works 100 hours a week, and the kid is just at home by themselves and they don't have anybody to talk to. At least on appearances, it seems like this is a mother who's involved in her daughter's life, and she didn't even know that this was happening. And this is in Florida, mind you, which is a state that does tend to lean conservative. People got together, thought of what questions were going to be on there, formatted it, approved it, and then said, we're going to meet with children and we're not going to inform their parents and we're not going to include them. That's a really scary place. I also want to share a part of her story that I thought was very important about what did she do to support her daughter through this. Because this was a mother who was not going to fall and buy into the scare tactics that this ideology tends to use on parents of, would you rather have an alive son or a dead daughter, which is their go-to.
So we ultimately came to the realization that our daughter was confused and she needed us to parent her through this. She didn't have the capacity to understand the things that she was asking for. And I knew that I had time on my side. Unlike so many of these parents whose children fall prey to this when they're in college or 17 and they're working under this, critical deadline, my daughter was 13. So in order to help her, I had to put my fear aside and reframe this issue. I had to pretend, instead of her asking for puberty blockers and binders, that she was asking for a new outfit or that was, inappropriate, or a tattoo. Things that I would have no problem setting healthy boundaries with and saying no to. And I knew that she just needed the gift of time, like so many of these other kids do, because as you all know, the vast majority will desist with the pathway of watchful waiting. I also knew I wasn't going to be able to talk her out of this. She needed to be the one to come to her own conclusion and decisions. And in order to do this, we had to repair our relationship with her and restore trust. So One of the first things that we did is I knew that she was getting this constant bug in her ear telling her that we did not love her because we did not affirm the trans identity. So we had to immediately combat that. We assured her we loved her unconditionally and that that would never change. And we started to ask questions out of a place of curiosity and compassion instead of judgment. We wanted to get her really thinking about this ideology and get her to see the contradictions in it, because she's a very bright girl, and I knew that she could get there with just a little bit of nudging. I avoided her name or her preferred name and used pet names instead, and I never used her preferred name or pronouns. We also knew we needed a new environment, and we initially tried to pull her out of school, but we were turned down by 2 private schools in the area. So we did let her finish out the school year at that school and then pulled her and put her in a private school. Lastly, I tell parents, and I myself had to practice a lot of patience. There is no straight line out of this, and it takes a long time. And so I didn't read into clothing and hair and makeup and jewelry, because if you do that, you yourself are falling back into this gender stereotype trap, because we know that clothing, hair, and makeup does not make our female child any less female. But sometimes we're looking for like these signs. Oh, is she desisting? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? It does not make sense. It's not logical, parents. We did not allow her to rewrite her past with lies. A lot of these kids do this. And so we would gently remind her ways that she was comfortable in her sex growing up. We showed her photos. We also told her that we loved her and showed her concrete ways that we show her that from the time she was born till right now. We cut off the contact with trans influencers. That was one of the most important things that we did. We conveniently made her unavailable when they asked her to do things. We also took her iPhone. I do not believe any child under the age of 16 should have a smartphone. And we made sure that she didn't see it as punishment. We told her we made a mistake, that you are not emotionally ready, and we used that opportunity as to do a technology reset for the whole family so she did not feel singled out. We pre-screened every person she came in contact with, from hairdressers, youth pastors, art teachers, because we need to ensure that they were not going to have her go backwards. And that's the other thing, is sometimes you feel like it's 2 steps up and 5 steps back, but you have to remember that you are making progress. Even if your child desists, you are not out of the woods. This was something I had to learn the hard way. Those root issues that made your child vulnerable to this ideology are still there, and they need to be identified and resolved for as long as it takes. These are the resources we found to be helpful to get our daughter to desist. I want to leave you with hope, and that's what most of us parents need. I know this ideology is relentless, and it does not discriminate, and it is literally tearing families apart. Laura Beth Perry, now Laura Smollett, said, "When you get tired of the lies, you don't go to those who were willing to lie to you. You turn back to the ones willing to tell you the truth, no matter what the consequences were." So parents, even if your child is still caught up in this awful ideology, please rest assured that you've done everything that you could to protect them from medical harm and to hold them in truth from a place of love and compassion.
And so I share this because I want January's story to be shared with other parents so that you can be informed about what potentially could be in your child's or your children's schools. That just how any other programs have been put together, so math or anything else, the same thought, thoroughness, carefulness has been put into socially transitioning kids in schools. And to think of all the people that have to be on board with that in order for that to go forward is even worse. And it's like, shame on those people. I'm sorry, but shame on all of you who are a part of that. And so I'm grateful for January that she spoke up and shared her story and that she didn't give in. And so parents, I really hope that, one, This helps inform you on what the possibility is for your child in their school. Maybe you can go and ask them, do you guys have any of these types of plans? What do you do if a child discloses that they want to change genders? What is the protocol? And then 2, you now have a new way of looking at what could be a response if you have a child that is questioning their gender. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a lovely week. Thank you. Bye.